Good morning, you guys. Nice to see you again. I just wanted to make a short video to respond to a question, really good question that I got this morning about last night's club meeting, you know, that's Saturday night, depending on when you're seeing this, or Sunday morning if you're a listener in Australia, New Zealand, someplace that has different time zone like that. And the question was, so from someone listening on the archive, why did you talk about all this spiritual stuff, about situation in the world, about inner growth, about what we can do to contribute to the outside world and the serious situation that's developing in the world around us right now in a lot of different ways? Because I am interested in turning that around if we can. And I think we can, and it starts in working on yourself. So we were talking about more consciousness issues, which is not just a philosophy or some esoteric idea. They're actually forgotten tools within consciousness that are very physically practical and can be used once they're awakened again to actually affect the world around you. And I'm pretty interested in that. But we start with health. It's just that, just because that makes it easier to do the inner work if you take care of the body issues first. And this person was asking, well, last night, you know, why didn't you talk about physical health? Because that's why I joined the club. And it's a totally reasonable question. And it just depends on what people ask and what they want to talk about. Because the club is interactive, and I'm just there as a resource, an older guy that's done many decades of research on age reversal and fixing physical body issues and you know, degenerative disease and aging and immunity without the nonsense of injections and drugs and that kind of stuff. And I've done all of what I'm talking about. So I'm a resource. But if you guys want to come to the club meeting and just talk about deeper inner things and not the physical healing protocols that night, I'm just there to talk about with you whatever you want to talk about. So that's the reason. But if you wanted to come talk about, you know, Gerson therapy or what Rudolph Bruce did, or juice fasting, exercise, sleep patterns, sunlight, grounding, physical stuff like that, great, we can do that the whole time. Because usually at the club meetings I'll talk for, right now it's running about an hour, things that I want to share with you, that I want to think are relevant and want to bring up. And after that, we got up to 2 more hours for question and answer on health or consciousness issues, because they're really intermeshed. You know, they're not totally separate from each other. To make the lifestyle upgrades that you need to stop aging in the usual way, and to get over degeneration and to reverse those things and stop catching sicknesses all the time, because you don't need to do that, and to understand even what that is. Then we'll talk about physical stuff. But to do those changes, as I was starting to say, that are going to change your physical health, if you don't want to do it with a lot of stress and willpower, which doesn't really work anyway, long term, you have to start changing consciousness and your thought patterns and the programs running in your mind and your emotional state all the time. You have to actually work on those things and upgrading them. So we'll move around at the club meetings. Sometimes we'll talk about just physical protocols and or maybe just exercise, yoga, or juice fasting, or intermittent fasting, or whatever. Time goes really fast, so whatever you want to focus on that night, if you can come live and be there, then that's great. You know, you can help direct the discussion. Otherwise, if you can't show up in person because you're in a part of the world where it would be 3 in the morning for you, or you're just busy or something like that, email the questions and topics in that you want us to go over, richard@lostartsradio.com, and I'll read all of them, and depending on available time, we'll talk about as many of them as we can, so that you feel like you're there participating live, even if you can't be there at that particular time. So it was a great question, and the answer is we'll jump around in topics. Whatever's the most immediately useful for you. I just want to be there available. And if you want to get into the... Also, because it's a private club format, and you have to actually join to see it and see the archives and everything, then we're able to talk much more freely about what you're experiencing, health and life issues, the deeper consciousness things that affect not only health but all your relationships and work and life and everything. And even if you're working for a cause, you know, you're trying to educate people about chemtrails or chemical farming or power technologies or whatever, consciousness determines, the consciousness work you do inside yourself determines how effective you're going to be and what kind of experience you're going to have. I'm just there to share my experience with you, and if it's helpful, great. So you're invited if you want to be part of it. LostArtsRadio.com/club tells you how to get in. If not, I'll keep sharing little bits of it on these free videos that you don't have to get in anything for, and I'll do that as often as I can. I'm trying to do it once a day lately. And if something great comes up in the private club discussion and you're not in it, then I'll try to bring parts of that would help you into the free videos. And remember, the Sunday show, also totally free, blogtalkradio.com/LostArtsRadio. 4 or 5 years of archives are all there free. It's super interesting material, great guests and everything. And then the new Saturday afternoon show, that's Pacific US time, 4:30 in the afternoon or 7:30 Eastern US time. That's also totally free and open and public. We look at some of the items happening in the news during the preceding week and what they mean, and implications for your life, and of course impact on health, stuff like that. And you can always suggest topics that you want to hear talked about. But if you really want the open discussion where we don't have to pull punches or worry about saying the wrong thing because of the suppression of real health information, which is quite violent in the US and other parts of the world, then come in the club and you won't have to worry about it. It's like really cheap group consulting, support group, sharing session about everything to do with health and consciousness, which pretty much there's very little that doesn't cover. So it'd be nice to see you there if you feel like it. The rest of this month, 60% discount of the dues on joining. That's going to be locked in if you get in during that time, but it's still cheap afterwards, so don't worry about that. And no obligation, as we said, to stay in. Anyway, I hope you have a really great rest of the weekend, if it's still weekend where you are. And just wanted to share all that with you. Have a good rest of the day, and I'll see you on Saturday.